Look what you did, you little jerk!
Welcome back, Internet, to the Circle of Jerks podcast. We're back. All right, so we got a couple of different topics today. We're gonna have a little small interview with Andy, talking about how he grew up, and kind of have a little bit of an inspirational story. We're also going to be talking about a show that came out on Netflix recently, 13 Reasons Why. We're going to kind of break it down, give our thoughts about it, and that's going to be the episode for today, guys. So buckle up and hope you enjoy.
Yay.
For sure. Anyways, our podcast is, it's all about us, like, having fun with one another. We spend all our time with one another. We go out, we hang out, and we just have a good time with our conversations. And our podcast is about sharing that fun with you guys, because the world is kind of a crazy, dark, depressing place at times. I've been there, Andy's been there, James has been there. We've all been there. So we want to share the fun and happiness that we have with you guys. Yet at the same time, we also want to have things that might inspire you. Some of you might not, you're just hearing the audio. Andy looks different than the rest of us, and he's had a lot of struggles and trials through his life, yet at the same time, he's overcome them, and we want to have a short time of him kind of explaining his story. And maybe those of you that are struggling with either a disability, a physical disability, or whatever struggle you're going through, we want to be able to inspire you and maybe lift up your spirits through a dark time. And kind of same thing with like a show like 13 Reasons Why. There's the big topic there is dealing with suicide, and I think it's an important topic to talk about, because I think we've all had friends who've struggled with depression, struggled through issues, and may or may not have known someone that's committed suicide. So this is going to be a little bit more of a inspirational podcast, but we're going to throw some humor in there too to get people laughing as well.
Because we're all about the laughter.
Exactly. So we've known Andy for, I've known him for a little over a year now, and this podcast wouldn't happen without Andy, because he's our editing guy, he's our sound guy, he's our our camera guy, he's everything. So
it's all my equipment, basically.
Yeah, without him, this podcast would not exist. So I have to thank him for that. And James has known him for quite a while. Dancing Jason's known him for even longer than any of us. So we want you guys to get to know Andy as well. So first, Andy, can you talk about how you grew up and what you dealt with growing up as a kid, maybe talk about like what exactly your condition is?
Yeah, sure. So I was born in here, Los Angeles, California. Grew up in the San Fernando Valley. Go 818.
818.
818 all day. I grew up in a pretty traditional Korean American family. My parents, they did the best that they could. They didn't necessarily expect to have me, and so they did the best that they could. The best way that they knew how. So it wasn't easy growing up, kind of negotiating through life, trying to find different ways to do things. There were a lot of missteps, a lot of accidents, a lot of broken dishes, a lot of ruined clothes, and so on and so forth. And but eventually I was able to find that equilibrium. I was able to find that point where everything came naturally. So writing became natural. Putting on clothes became natural. Using a camera became natural, and so it was hard, but was hard, but it definitely helped mold me and shape me into the person that I am today.
So did your parents ever push for using like adaptive equipment or devices?
Not really. Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, if anything, especially my mother, she was more inclined to try to do everything for me. And my dad, in certain instances, yeah, he would just, even now, he's still kind of like, sometimes he'll like try to do something that I am perfectly capable of doing, but it's just, I guess it's just the parental like instinct to, make it easier on your kids' lives. So, but no, well, the only thing that my dad suggested was that a driving knob. For when I was starting to learn, how to drive, he was like, "Oh, do you want me to install a driving knob, and then, to make it easier?" I was like, "No, I'm good. I haven't had any accidents yet."
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been to more accidents than you, so yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So, how long did it take before you became comfortable, if you remember, like, doing basic, activities of daily living? I'm an OT, an occupational therapist. As you guys know, I used to work in a hand clinic for a little bit, so I realized, obviously, how important, having our hands are. So I'm just, thinking how difficult it would be to complete day-to-day tasks. However, you grew up with, this condition, and so I guess you've naturally just adapted to it. But, I mean, do you remember a certain point where it was pretty much easy to put on clothes or to make yourself a snack or sandwich, or how to use scissors or utensils, stuff like that? How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a little kid, I think just as all little kids are, still trying to negotiate those finer like motor functions, and kids are really clumsy, and so and I was no different. I was really clumsy, but I did feel a little bit more like guilty, like if I did mess up, because I had this to overcome, and so so I had this to overcome, and so I don't know, like kind of the guilt that a kid would feel for like knocking over something or spilling something. I think I felt that like 10 times over, and so I think that also drove me to work harder to become like capable and more coordinated, and so
Seems like just a lot of practice.
Yeah, so just a lot of practice, and I don't think I didn't feel fully capable or coordinated until probably like junior high, because by that time I was doing a lot of things for myself. Junior high, that was when the first time I got a locker and I was able to put in the combination, and I was also riding my bike to school, and well, I've been riding my bike to school since elementary school, but yeah, just all those things that like that constant repetition of daily life, just kind of reinforced everything, so it became like muscle memory, and so like when I got into like my adolescence, that's when everything's, which is kind of odd because at adolescence you're supposed to be more uncomfortable with your body, and because you're filling in and you're kind of you're growing into it, but in terms of everyday activities, that's when I felt the most coordinated or the most capable.
Okay.
What was it like going through school? Did you have any difficulties with like teachers or like other kids being kind of messed up or anything like that?
Not so much. I mean, it's hard when you don't look like everybody else, and and I think I had that doubly because I was like one of the few Asians in my school, and then I was also this disabled kid, and so I mean, I definitely got a lot of like side glances, and especially like little girls, like I just have it burned in my mind for the rest of my life. And these little girls are running in just the side of me.
It's tough.
And so it was, I guess emotionally it was pretty rough. I was never ever like physically intimidated by anyone. I think one of the worst things someone called me was in elementary school, and I still remember it. Partly because he kind of turned something that I love so much against me, but it was he called me a Ninja Turtle.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was like I was a little kid. I loved the Ninja Turtles, and then here's this and it was like this older classman who turned it against me and tried to use it as to insult me, and I was just like but other than that, those few instances, I think like early on, like first, second grade, other than those, I haven't had too much problem with bullying or feeling alienated or ostracized.
Well, that's pretty good, because heck, I was I'm perfectly physically abled, and but I was younger and kind of short than everybody. I got picked on all the time.
Although there is one. It's funny because it doesn't seem like other people with a problem, or having a problem with my disability or whatever. It wasn't. I necessarily didn't have a problem with it. It was like a lot of. It was like other people who took up the onus to be offended for me. I remember.
And how did that make you feel? Were you kind of like stop feeling sorry for me? I'm good. I get it, but I'm good.
A little bit. This one instance that I distinctly remember. I was a little kid, and my sister was watching me, but her friends called her up saying, "Hey, let's go to the mall." And so, she wasn't supposed to. Oh, Mom and Dad, if you're watching.
Uh-oh.
It happened a long time ago, so let it go. And nothing happened. So my sister brought me along with her friends to go to the mall and hang out. And then we were at the food court, and I was just, eating my food. And then there was this little girl, younger than when I was. I think at the time I was 7. So this little girl, she was maybe 4 or 3. I don't know, she's still in a stroller. And so I was just eating my food, and she was give me daggers, right? Mm-hmm. But it was just because she's 4 years old, and she's never seen it. And so my sister immediately goes off on this little child, or she goes off on the mother and says you gotta teach your child not to stare at people. That's that's rude. And then I was just I was 7, and she was my older sister, so I was I didn't know if I could just say anything to her, so I just kind of sat there, just eating my food.
Awkward.
Really awkward. And she was just yelling at this mother for her child, staring at me. And so
how did the mother react? I'm curious.
She was apologizing, and she was pointing out the fact that she's just a little girl, she's just a baby. And I mean, I felt for the mother. I was I know, I understand. I was just oh, stop yelling. I was just I was just sitting there eating my food, looking down. I was nope, not happening.
How old was your sister at that time?
I think she was 14 or so.
Well, that's cool that she was looking out for you.
Yeah.
I mean, she meant well, and of course, it was just a little kid, so you kind of know all the angles.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the mom felt bad too.
Right. But I know, because it's the mother. I know, the mother isn't a horrible mother.
No.
I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt. And then it was just a little girl, a little baby, who's never seen someone with this condition.
Right.
And so.
So you've probably had a lot of kind of moments like that, yeah. People
I mean, even now, sometimes it's funny, and I have compassion and sympathy for people, who, especially at parties or social events, and they go not expecting to meet me, and so what is it? They they come and I meet people through other people, and they come and say hello, and they're they're going down the line shaking hand. They come to me and it's like whoa, and like they recoil.
People have been drinking a little bit. It's like, what did I have to drink?
I think some of my friends reacted that way, but just
and then and then like I still had my hand out, waiting to be waiting to shake hands with them, but they kind of like seize up. It's like what do I do? And they like go like either do like elbows, a fist or elbows. And I'm just like, come on, dude, just shake my hand.
Now I remember
shake his hand, guys, when you meet him.
Yeah. Now I remember when I first met you, we were at karaoke, so it was dark, so I didn't like see what your hands looked like, and I was just like, I went to shake your hand, I was like, something feels different. Like, but I just like left it. I just kind of just kept that in my mind. I was like, okay, whatever.
Something feels different. It doesn't feel like a hand.
And
I think I have a title for this clip alone.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious because it was dark and it was his first time meeting.
Yeah, and so I was like, wow, something feels so different. And when but then I was like, I just most of the time when someone's different or like like they're handicapped or whatever, because most they get so many questions about like, what's up with your arm or what's going on with your leg, and
exactly in that accent.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, you know what, if they bring it up, then it's open game, or if they like they're joking around about it, then it's like whatever. So that's when I'll talk about it. And if you don't know Andy's one of the most positive, funny guys that I know, and he already was like making fun of like his condition, so I was like, okay, I guess it's open game. And so he's kind of has this like sense of humor about it. Like when did you kind of like develop that kind of? Was it kind of a defensive mechanism, or is it just something that naturally came up, or you just?
I think partially it might have started off as a defense mechanism, but then it became more of just a natural way to put people at ease, because you can't make fun of somebody that is making fun of themselves.
Exactly.
And so.
Because that was always my defensive mechanism. I just learned to have a good sense of humor, and that eliminated like I just didn't get hurt anymore after that.
I know, it's like you can't make fun of the fat person who's like, oh damn, look at my stomach, it's so huge.
It's like I'm a fat piece of crap.
It's like, what did I eat?
Yeah.
And so actually, there's a funny story about that. I was out at a bar. And I remember, I just happened upon like this group of people, and like I started talking to them, and I was naturally charming them, and so finally one of the guys like pulls me aside and it's like, dude, I can't hold it any longer. I just gotta ask you. It's like, what's up with your hands? And then I just kind of I just kind of stop and I look at him, I'm like, you ever seen The Hurt Locker? And then and then you can see like the gears in like his head like moving. It's like, no way, dude, you're in the army, you handle explosives. And I was like, no, but it's a really good movie.
And what was his reaction after?
And then that reaction was even greater because he just exploded. It's like, oh man, you it's like, I'm gonna buy you a drink.
Oh,
yeah, and then I went ahead and explained everything, and he was like, "Oh, man, that's cool."
Are we on time?
We're fine.
Okay. What other do you have any funny stories to tell the audience? I know you shared some with us about people meeting you, or situations you've been in where people acted really funny.
Oh, you want me to tell the cop story?
Of course.
Yeah. I want you to tell the cop story.
All right, so. Here's the story. I'm heading down Cahuenga. I'm speeding. I know I'm speeding. And then I just passed Hollywood Boulevard, and these two motorcycle cops go in the opposite direction. And then I'm just thinking to myself, oh, please don't turn around. Please don't turn around. But then, I see the lights, I hear the siren, and I get pulled over. And then like this guy was gonna be a dick to me. Like, I just sense it. I just feel it as he's walking up, and then I roll down my window, and then he flashes his light in my eye, being a dick. And and then the light, my hands are on the steering wheel, and so the light starts traveling down my arm, and it lands on my hands, and the cop lets out this, oh. And he's complete, and then his energy is completely switched around, and he gets completely nervous and doesn't know what to do with himself. He's like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Yeah, it's like holding his neck, like, "Oh God!"
It's like in those anime.
I done
Get some help.
It's like, "Yeah, I done goofed." It's like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And I was about to answer him, like, because I was speeding.
Duh.
True, but he was like, "Cause you're going a little fast back there." Actually, you know what? You're just get out of here. And he's like, he just waved me off.
Hey, you still lucked out because there's a lot of cops that.
Yeah, no. I've been generally speaking, I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
When I get pulled over, it's like they just let me off the warning, and a lot, like 50% of the time, have been women cops too.
Wow.
Yes, and one was a CHP.
Oh.
Wow, they never let people.
Yeah,
out.
exactly. They're notoriously dickish to people.
Oh man, they're like really bad.
Well, now we know who's gonna be our.
I know, right? I know.
Designated driver from now on.
All right, you get James is drunk, bulldozer. Like, proceed with me. Like comes in, what's the officer problem?
That's the plan. So what do you do for a living? Because that involves your hands, right?
Oh, right.
Kind of thing. I mean, you set up this whole place. I mean, you guys can't see it, but we have like 3 stands, mic stand. We got the lights, the camera, and all set up by Andy.
And the action.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was dumb joke.
Well, I am a photographer. I shoot generally portraits, fashion, documentary, editorial, some product stuff. I've been doing it for a hell of a long time.
What made you get into it?
I've always had this artistic inclination, and when I was a kid, I was like, you think of artist, you think drawing, painting, sculpting, especially rendering it like perfectly so it looks like what you draw. So if you draw a person, it should look like a person, all anatomically correct. But I wasn't necessarily able to develop that. But one day I found I happened upon this book of art photography, and I was like, holy crap, I could just do this, and it'll look exactly how I want it to look, and all I have to do is push a button. But don't take that as an endorsement of that old that thinking where a photographer, all he does is push a button. Not true.
Hey, isn't everyone a photographer now that we have smartphones and Instagram? Yeah, I think we make that argument.
Well,
I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
We have a bunch of crappy photographers.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Including myself.
But you went to school specifically for photography, right?
Oh yeah, Otis.
Otis, represent, right?
Representing right there. I know, it's like, I know, I've worn this shirt a lot, so it's a little more.
No, you got some good photos, right? You want to tell them your Instagram and all that, and we'll actually show some good pictures during this podcast.
If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's @AndrewThePhotog. I'll probably put it like right here. Yeah, so. And
your motto is you shoot people, right?
Yeah, I shoot you. I'll shoot you.
Yeah,
That's
just
my-
like we
that's my-
did the other week, right?
Oh yeah, that's all.
Compliments
center
of
mass.
Andy and me. And
Center mass. Oh yeah, that one right there, a number on the 6. That's in the crotch area. That's James.
Yeah. May as well, right?
Get off my purse!
That's my purse. I don't know you.
Number 6 right there. I don't know if they can see it, but point to it, Robert.
Yeah.
Point. We're number 6.
Right there, there's a bullet hole. Yeah, there's a bullet hole right there.
Right in the crotch.
Yeah, right in the crotch.
Hey man, if someone full tries to rob me, he deserves to get shot in the crotch, dude.
True.
Well, I'll choke him out first before, and then I'll shoot him in the crotch. How about that?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh yeah, and website is andrewthephotog.com.
Check him out.
Check him out. He's got some great stuff. And if you are hiring, he's the guy.
Yes.
man.
This Oh, the setup isn't cheap.
Yeah.
That's
The
true.
setup isn't cheap. So.
But you mentioned, you know, art and drawing, writing. I was never a good artist, and my handwriting is still pretty crappy. You have really good handwriting. It's like
He has
like
good
amazing,
penmanship.
right? Yeah.
I was
How did you
very
develop that?
surprised.
Yeah, way better than mine.
Just doing it, I guess.
Is it because you had to be more purposeful with like how you were like holding, you know, like a pen or pencil and like how you wrote?
Because I'm doing a lot of things. I'm like, you know, holding the pencil, but I'm also like coordinating both my, you know, hands and arms to, you know, write out the letters. And so.
Yeah, how did
Yeah,
you
so-
learn to write at school? Because obviously, you know, I don't know how the teacher would have approached you because she's probably never worked with someone with
I don't know. I think the teachers just did the best that they could, and they just.
She just let you be. She go.
Yeah,
figure it
it's like
out,
just
figure it out.
yeah, like I guess you know, because you know that kind of stuff I kind of mostly had figured out, you know, due to like you know using you know crayons and things like that, and so all they had to do was like teach me like the motions, like you know you start you know the three line paper from elementary school. I don't know if you guys remember,
Man, yeah.
but you start at the top, and
Name,
you go,
period, and date.
right? So you start at the top of the line, you know, top line, and you go down, you cross that middle line, you reach the bottom, and all that stuff. But I will say I'm the only one that, out of the people that I know, I'm the only one that still does cursive.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone like now just does like print or whatever. But when I write stuff, I still do in handwriting. And people, I've been told that I have George Washington handwriting.
And what does that mean?
One time a friend saw me writing and he's like, dude, that looks like the writing on the Declaration of Independence.
Oh.
And so
Maybe we don't know something. Maybe they wrote like you. And it's a
Maybe.
lost art.
maybe. Actually, there's this I saw this one TED talk, and this guy he was talking about the artistry of writing.
Yeah.
Just like just like actual the letters and stuff. And he talked about this one guy who was like the president of like back in the day, like 1800s, like late 1800s, and he was the president or chairman of like the American like Penmanship Society or
Mhm.
something. And surprisingly, that guy had no arms.
He had no arms?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he showed like some of his like work, and so it was like you know it's like beautiful like calligraphy and just like penmanship, and then he's like, yeah, this is the guy that did it. He showed a picture, and it's like,
Did he use his mouth or something? Or?
I think combo. He had like nubs, and I think
Okay,
like
okay,
maybe he
okay.
like used his mouth to like stabilize, and then just like
Anything is possible, man.
yeah, seriously.
It's like you know the guy that we was talking about, Maynard.
Yeah.
We'll post a picture of him, and he's a guy without any limbs, and he was a collegiate wrestler, and he trains Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He even had an MMA fight, and he had his own commercial.
Oh yeah, with like North Face or Columbia,
Yeah,
where he's like
yeah.
climbing the mountain.
There's no excuse. I mean, that's crazy. And speaking of which, have you gotten into sports or stuff like that? And have you adapted to, you know, things like
Nah.
sports or leisure activities? I mean, you've done jiu-jitsu a little bit with us too, but
Right.
what else have you been into?
Nothing really. I mean, my parents never signed me up for any like little leagues or anything. When I was a little bit older, like in high school, I did play a little bit of soccer. Not like within a league, but just like kind of like pickup games and like church tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember it was fun. I went as far as to buy the cleats and the shin guards and all that stuff. And
Cool.
it's pretty fun.
I was thinking like you talking about the that one MMA fighter reminded me of I think it was Jim Abbott from baseball.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he threw a no hitter. He's like
That
one,
dude is,
like with one arm.
yeah.
Oh
He's
yeah,
amazing, man. I'm trying to get this guy to train jiu-jitsu more consistently.
What else?
That's my bias. Come on. He was tough, man. It was hard to choke this dude out. He's got strong arms, but I'll try to drag him in, and then you could choke out Robert.
So the other thing I wanted to ask is how did your faith kind of help you through your condition, and like when did you become a Christian? Were you always church going family, or was it just something that you discovered later on, and how did that help you?
Well, I've been going to church pretty much my whole life. Or I have been churched. But growing up, you know, I wasn't that into the faith. My mom, you know, was, she's a Bible thumping, like prayer warrior, you know. Like
Typical Korean mom.
Typical Korean mom. But it really didn't, like, I didn't make it my own faith until about junior high to high school. Partly because I think to kind of come back to the whole hands thing, like, because the kids at church were, you know, not very accepting, and so it made it kind of hard for me to embrace the faith, as it were.
Right.
But it wasn't. But then when I was in junior high, we had actually moved churches, and then I met like all these other people who were pretty awesome to me, you know, who, you know, treated me decent, and slowly I was, you know, exposed to to the Bible, and the gospel, and the love of Jesus and all that. And in junior high is when I embraced the faith, and I truly became a believer.
And like, how did you know, like, how that like helped get you through like your condition and stuff?
I guess one of the verses that really helped was, I can't remember where it is. Written by David. I think it was a song. It talks about how, you know, God knitted us in our mother's womb, and just that phrase, like, you know, God knitted you in your mother's womb. The knit part, it's like, you know, it means that it was a deliberate action. My creation, your creation, you know, everyone's creation was a deliberate act. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a byproduct of something else. It was truly, you know, something, you know, that God intended. And so, you know, it got me to realize that my hands, my condition, wasn't an accident. It was a purpose. It was, you know, intentional. He wanted me to be this way for a specific reason. And I mean, not to sound arrogant or anything, but I think God made me to be memorable. You know, because, you know, you see me, it's kind of hard to forget. You know, it's like, where did I meet you?
You know,
I know
funny.
you from
Just-
somewhere.
just your
I know
yeah.
you from somewhere.
Just your
His
personality
personality
alone
alone,
is
but-
unforgettable.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? You know, every time we go, I guess, to a certain bar or restaurant, they always be like, "Hey, I remember you. You came here before." And it's always when we're all together and you're with us. So you are definitely memorable. I mean, of course, it's your sense of humor also, and your charm and all that. But yeah, no, that's cool. Like, I'm sure your faith has really helped you cope with a lot of struggles and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
for all of our struggles, right? Like, just knowing that God is sovereign over everything. And
yeah, I mean, it wasn't always easy, but again, I know I'm like the worst Christian ever. I can't remember any specific. I can't remember any specific verses, but I do. But I can't.
You remember
say,
the context. You
Yes,
remember
I
the
remember.
message that's
Yes.
behind them. Which I
well,
think
at
is
least we
much
know
more
it's
important.
authentic. It's not like,
And we'll-
you know,
we'll
you're,
show
like,
it right
scripted.
here.
I'll put it up right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe it was Apostle Paul who said, you know, God won't give you anything that you can't handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, since God is, King of all, all knowing, He's seen the path that I walk, that I'm walking, and he knows that I have the strength to carry this burden and to keep going.
Now, you were recently on a show talking about your condition.
Right.
It was the
Yeah,
Dr. Caroline
Dr.
Leaf
Leaf
show.
Yeah.
Tell how that interview happened and like where people can view it.
It's a pretty cool interview.
It actually got the opportunity through a daughter who James had met, and I guess I left a good first impression.
As always.
As always. So I guess she told her mom about me, and then her mom was like, "Yeah, let's have him on the show." And so she emailed me, and what was it, towards the end of 2016.
Woo! Wow, we went back 10 years.
Count myself. So the end of 2016, and we filmed it in late January of 2017, and then aired in this past March, on TBN, and it was really good. The show was about overcoming physical disability and adversity, and it was a really cool show because she, if you don't know, Dr. Caroline Leaf is a world-renowned neuroscientist from South Africa, and she has a few books out about the mind and mental processes, and then she ties it all back to faith and how they're not we always think of mind power and positive thinking and Christian faith as these separate things, but she explains it in a way where it brings it all together, and it's I would think for a non-believer it'd be really interesting, and for a believer it'd be very encouraging.
It was really cool. Yeah. So Caroline, Jessica, if you're watching, we want you on this show. I think it'd be great.
Pro, right? I did your show. You can maybe do our show.
It'd be a lot of fun.
All right, we're gonna start our 13 Reasons Why review. We're gonna go through the cons, pros, what we all liked about it, what we didn't like about it. The whole gamut. And just so you know, spoilers. So if you haven't seen the show and you want to watch it, turn off the episode now, and we'll wait here while you.
Go watch PewDiePie or something.
Yeah. We'll wait here while you go watch it. Okay, you're done. So let's start off with the cons. There was a few things. Certain characters I felt were, some of their plot points were either unnecessary, and there was definitely some plot holes. Andy, why don't you start off with some of the characters that you didn't care for?
Well, let's see.
It's a character list here. It's holding up.
Yeah, I like this fool, I like that fool. That guy was a jerk. No. What is it? I guess the character of Tony. I guess I didn't have that much of a problem with him. But it was, in a later episode, it does go into a reveal of him being gay, but it does nothing to advance the plot.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything to advance the plot, or it doesn't add to the story. And then there's this thing where he has this unnecessary argument with his boyfriend because he doesn't call his boyfriend in front of people, but then that little diversion doesn't really add to the story, and it's completely unnecessary. And
yeah, that was yeah.
Take it from there.
Yeah, Tony, my number one issue, Tony. Overall, a good character. You know, he's kind of the one that is helping out with Hannah's wishes and kind of that guiding force and helping people listen to the tapes and kind of come to grips with what's going on.
He's the Jiminy Cricket.
But yeah,
he was the magical minority.
The point of him being gay is just kind of a moot point. It doesn't add or take away add anything to the character or take anything away.
Exactly.
And the whole side story of like him and his quote unquote boyfriend does not do anything. There's no reason for it to have happened, which is a big problem for it. It's one of my pet peeves, if you will, of characters or story points. Just like, why, if you cut that out, you wouldn't notice it being gone.
Not even a little bit.
Why do you suppose they made him gay?
I think that's just the way the world is, and it's like, hey, we need another gay character.
Cause diversity.
Yeah. Who knows though? Maybe if
it's a
they
little
do
thing called diversity.
If they do have a second season, maybe they'll elaborate on that. Who knows?
Maybe.
But I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird.
We're all okay.
We're kind of going all over the place.
To let you guys know, we did not read the book series, and we're also going off the knowledge. We're not really sure if there's going to be a second season. If there is a second season, it might change a few plot points, I think, or like kind of the question mark endings on some of the characters. So that's what we're just going based off of. There's only this one season, and we haven't read the book, so we don't know if there's any extra depth to the characters that we might be missing, or if the show added anything to certain characters that weren't there to begin with.
Right.
I guess for me, I don't usually watch TV shows and whatnot. Sometimes I do. I really loved Breaking Bad. I binge watched that.
Oh yeah.
So I have an addictive personality. If I like a show, I'll binge watch it if I can. This show, I heard about it. So Robert had it on last time we were here. So I checked it out, and admittedly I did get hooked. But there were some characters in the beginning that pissed me off. However, it's funny because as the season went on, I felt like they did a good job. With character development. So at first though, Jessica, that girl pissed me off. I don't know, she's just annoying to me. But maybe she had to. Maybe they're just like playing their roles, but really annoying, and I felt like Hannah I liked overall, for sure she did a good job, and I did not know she was Australian, so it kind of tripped me out when I saw her interviews with that accent, but she did a good job, but poor girl. She's been through so much and pretty unrealistic, to go through that much, but she kind of put herself in those situations a lot of times. Not the rape scene, but, a lot of other times. Why would she keep associating herself with, the same group of people, right?
Yeah, because she was constantly trusting people who have demonstrated that they're untrustworthy. That was my problem with Hannah. I mean, I didn't necessarily hate her character. I mean, she was the main character.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's like, it's just... I understand, like, the show kind of made it seem like it was like a small town, so, like, everyone knew, if not personally, then they knew of each other. And so, like, but, I understand, like, in high school, it's like a really small pool of people that you can associate yourself with. But, it was just constantly like these people at her school would constantly be demonstrating that they're not trustworthy or they're not her friends.
Right.
But and yet she's still like there's a couple party scenes that come to mind where she is either she's indirectly invited. And she's like wondering, oh, should I go? Should I not go? And then she still ends up going. And then hijinks ensue. And it's again revealed that these people are not trustworthy, or you should not consider these people as your friends.
Yeah. And it's that whole thing. Why do a lot of those girls fall for douchebags? Like, why even fall for that douchebag Justin, you know.
Oh yeah, Justin was the douche.
But and then what got ridiculous, it was that other dude? I forgot the character's name. It's not here. No, the guy that looked like Pharrell.
Oh yeah, Marcus.
Marcus, yeah.
I said poor man's Usher.
Yeah, yeah, poor man's Usher, but he kind of looked like Pharrell. The supposed valedictorian fell for him, and then right after that scene, I thought it was ridiculous when Zach, I guess, the Asian dude, the Filipino guy, comes right back to the diner, and she still lets him sit there. It's like, come on, like, haven't you learned anything? Like, don't associate yourself with that whole group. And then of course that doesn't work out either. So.
Yeah, because it wasn't like because the douchebag Justin, like he was friends with like those two guys that James just mentioned, and so if I why would, because she knows like this guy is a douche, so then why would she be so open to be trusting his friends? Like I'm not saying you should paint with a broad brush, but you should still
in that case
keep arm's length would be the rule
at the very
there.
Best.
Keep up arm's length, and if they just demonstrate that they're trustworthy, then you could slowly let them in, into your circle.
And of course this is based on the book, sorry, I'll just say this, and this is all part of the plot, but we're just thinking like in real life she could have just easily made better friends, and she's attractive, she's pretty, she's smart, whatever, so simple as that. Real life, just find new friends,
The other part that like kind of bugged me was how cartoonish of a villain that Bryce is. Where it's kind of that
like the Biff, right?
Yeah, he's the Biff. He's the cartoonish, like the kind of the perfect scenario like bad guy.
Yeah, it felt a little unrealistic. It's like, oh yeah, he's the rich jock that kind of gets away with everything, and I don't know if it's
has to hook up with drugs and all that stuff.
Which I thought is kind of a little ridiculous because it kind of paints like that type of like he's has money and like he comes from like a wealthy family or whatever. It kind of you had all the nuances for these other characters, but Bryce was kind of just like this one person that set off on an island that had no character development whatsoever.
Right. And
he was just this cartoon villain.
Yeah. Why was he such a douche? Was he like distant father?
Right.
Lackadaisical mother. We don't know.
Not that his actions were good in a sense, but having more depth to his character would have, I think, helped me a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, that's why he's an asshole.
I think I would have enjoyed that also because, like, even like the smallest of side characters had more depth and backstory,
right?
Than this Bryce guy did, and so.
So that was the part that bugged me is because all these characters, Clay and Hannah obviously get the most like on screen time and most development. Mm-hmm. Yet even like all these people who are the reasons why on these tapes, they even what was the first tape? What was that kid's name?
The Clay?
No, Justin. Thank you. Justin, like, you start off, like, hating him, and then you realize, like, they start to develop his character more and more. It's like, oh, okay, he's actually not a bad kid.
Yeah,
like,
druggy mom,
he just has a really crappy home life. Yeah. Who I've had many friends in, like, my time that have that very same childhood. It's just like, they're not bad kids. It's just they kind of
the circumstances
suck, and they kind of become the bad kid.
Right.
So like I said, all these characters got this like kind of more development as the show went on, but not Bryce, which kind of bugged me a little bit.
But in a way, though, it kind of shows in a way that not all bad kids have that dramatic upbringing. Maybe he is a douchebag by nature.
But that very well could be. I just wish they would have explained a little bit more.
And I think there are a lot of assumptions made because that scene where Clay confronts him, it's like, oh, where are your parents? Oh, they're not, they're off somewhere. So you kind of say, oh, okay, so they're rich, so his parents probably went off some sort of like getaway, without him,
right?
Whatever. So so we could assume that he's some sort of latchkey kid, in a sense, but very very rich latchkey kid where he had nannies or whatever. So they don't. So he might suffer from that lack of parental affection or
Right.
emotion.
Discipline
Yeah,
and all
discipline.
that too.
So
That's the possibility too. And that was the other thing. It's like sometimes they spell things out, and then other times they just kind of left.
yeah, they make like
wide open.
tiny little implications, and then you're supposed to take that tiny little implication and like, run with it to like wherever however you're gonna take it, instead of making it maybe a little bit more clear of the intention.
My third problem was a lot of the open plot lines that they had been kind of the subplots that they'd been developing the entire time. Yet, if there's not going to be another season, it's like, well, what happened? First of all, is like once the tapes kind of got out, who else listened to them? What adults listen to these tapes?
Right.
They kind of got out, but no one said anything. They didn't have another episode talking about the after effects. What happened with the lawsuit? That was a whole big thing that was going on behind the scenes, yet we never see a conclusion. The third big one is the photographer kid. He ends up having this Unabomber style gun case with explosives and guns
the false
and
bottom in his trunk.
Yeah.
There's guns and pipe bombs
and all of a sudden nothing develops out of that either.
Or they leave it. They kind of just leave it hanging.
Yeah.
That's why I think there will be a second season.
There almost has to be at that point.
Yeah.
And then just the way that the last episode ends, and they're just driving off in a car somewhere, and it's like, well, what was after all that? They just kind of left it. It was kind of a lackadaisical, anticlimactic type of an end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the main kid Clay, he reaches out to that other girl. It's like, hey, let's go hang out. It's like, when? Like right now. And then they go off with the magical minority Tony and go for a drive and stuff.
Here's the other thing that bugged me too. One other character was the Asian girl who had the two gay dads,
right.
And there's clearly Courtney, yes, thank you. And I can't say that I grew up in a family with two gay dads. What problems have potentially come with that type of upbringing. But then you have a school that seems very inclusive, and there's a lot of openly there's two openly gay characters that they're best friends with. Yet she has that. It makes you wonder. Okay, is the rest of the school kind of very anti-gay, or is it just that she has this? But see, so we have these clearly openly gay characters that everyone knows and everyone is friends with. Yet she had part of the reason that she was on the tapes is because she hid her sexuality. She didn't want that out, and she was willing to do whatever it takes to keep that hidden. Seemed a little.
Throw Hannah under the bus.
Yeah, that seemed a little unrealistic to me, because you have. Then what about the Tony or what's his face, the journalist kid?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Where is he? Montgomery?
No, not Montgomery.
Yeah, he was another cartoon asshole.
Oh, God.
Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah, that was, and clearly, openly gay. Everyone would kind of knew them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe no one was for too close of friends with Ryan, because he kind of seemed like just a jerk.
Yeah.
But that was the other thing. Another character that was just kind of unnecessary was Montgomery. Why was he?
Yeah,
why was he part of it?
He was like a sidekick,
Yeah, he was a sidekick, but again, he was
he wasn't part. But the thing is, the ones that they focused on were these kids that were part of the tapes. Montgomery was never on any of those tapes. Why was he there? He didn't need to be a character.
Yeah, was he there?
No, he was not. He was not.
I mean, I know he wasn't on the. I know
tapes.
he wasn't on the tape, but was he around when they were discussing tape business?
No.
Oh, okay.
He had nothing to do with any. He was almost like a not. he never bugged Hannah. He never did anything to Hannah.
I guess they needed him for that fight scene with what's that
Alex?
dude's name? With Alex, yeah.
If that's the only reason
know.
he exists, and that's where like maybe the book like
Yeah,
Montgomery
that fight
actually
never-
is like a stronger character, but in the show it's like he just seems like this unnecessary character.
The unnecessary
Yeah, and that
douchebag.
fight, I didn't understand. Like, why were they getting into it?
Well, I guess it showed Alex's like the tension that he felt like because you see like his growing guilt as the show goes on.
Exactly, I was gonna.
And
mention
I
that,
think
yeah.
it was just kind of like he.
Oh, just like it was like a what is it, release valve for
Yeah,
them.
we're gonna talk about that more on like the pro section, but if I guess
Yeah.
unless we want to start that now.
Well, at first, Alex, I didn't like that dude. I just.
There was a lot of characters that I started
Like-
off like I really hate this character, but then it flipped and like I
Yeah,
started
for
to like
sure.
I started to feel like bad for them, and you start to feel for them as you move forward. And then it was the same thing. There was some characters where I like, oh, this seems like an okay
Yeah,
person, and it just goes downhill. Where it's like, wow, I really hate this character.
For me, Courtney, for sure, the whole way through, I did not like her.
Courtney, that was the
the Asian girl.
Oh yeah,
She pissed
I
me
didn't.
off.
With the gay dance.
She started off like kind of like she seemed pretty nice, and it just went.
Yeah.
She took a huge nosedive by the end.
I guess another
Actually,
criticism
both the
in
Asian
general.
characters were kind
Yeah, Zach also right.
Yeah.
But I guess at the overall though, another criticism I have is that they dragged it way too long. I know that it's it's 13 episodes, 13 reasons, but it's like, dude, just listen to the tapes. It'll take you like I think one of the characters said, "Gosh, what's taking you so long, Clay?"
At least it was self-aware.
I guess
okay. I would have just like she could have just listened to the tapes and they could have made it like 8 episodes and not 13.
Well, that was the because Tony talking to Clay about it's like, dude, what's taking you so long?
Yeah, I know.
We've all listened to the tapes. We did it in one night. Like
One
Alex said
night,
the same
yeah,
thing to Clay. It's
one
like,
night.
what the hell is
Yeah.
taking you so long?
Right, and it's
And-
like, and if the because supposedly it's each tape 2 sides, and supposedly they're all full.
Yeah.
So and like an average like cassette tape is like maybe hour and like 20 minutes,
Something like that. Yeah.
something like that. So yeah, you could definitely get through it in a night.
That also makes me think that okay, so all these kids like they just ran through the tapes, and then Clay seems like he's the only one that's actually taking his time and actually like
Yeah.
listening to
Or,
what
yeah,
Hannah
he's
has
like-
to
he's-
say.
he's listening, and
Is
then
he the
he's
only
like-
person that seems
Yeah,
to
he's-
give a damn?
I guess so.
I guess.
They're just looking out for
Yeah,
themselves. most of
yeah,
them.
because he was listening, and I guess he was like kind of like meditating on like what her words,
Yeah.
and then before moving on to the next one, and then doing the same process.
And it's like it almost like it felt like the Clay taking his time and actually like meditating on like what actually Hannah was talking about and trying to like figure out and remembering and trying to think of what was going on. Yet it seemed like the other kids like whatever, it's just just another girl that killed herself almost, even though they were supposedly her friend. Yet I think through that like time maybe we were supposed to infer that because him like talking with them again about it, and it's like, well, maybe that was like where they started to rethink about it. Maybe we were wrong, or like or like we are that like we're a problem. At least the only character that seemed to really like kind of internalize it more afterwards was Alex. Alex seemed to be the only one that seemed to like after that really cared about the whole situation.
But most of them are just looking out for themselves. I think that's like a big theme.
Yeah.
That's reality. It's kind of sad.
Like that Marcus kid.
Well, and that goes into the pros for me because
Okay,
I felt
let's
like
get
it.
onto the pros now.
I feel like it did capture realistically. I think especially kids that age, because there's not.
In this generation, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's definitely in this generation where stuff that does go out there on social media, they don't really have a way to kind of just let it roll off their back because people
Because
with
they'll always be there.
yeah, it's
Forever. Yeah.
Especially with like Facebook, like the memories or whatever, and like you post something stupid and like oh this is what you did in like 3 years
Yeah.
ago, and it's like you
Right.
doing gel
And
shots
even
on-
if you delete it, I mean, this picture's
still there.
out
it's still there.
Everyone
so,
else,
someone's like
someone else.
archived it or screen capped
Yeah.
it. And,
Which is scary,
and that's something that like they don't understand either. But I felt like it captured the teenage mind pretty well because a lot of life is very black and white. where it's like, oh, you diss me, and it's kind of like, you're like a bad guy, like you're whatever. There's not really like understanding any gray. At least when I was growing up as a teenager, that there was a lot. It was a lot more black and white. Then as you grow up, you realize that like the world's really more gray. There's not too many like just all straight out villains, and there's really not too many like white knights either. It's kind of everyone's kind of like sort of in the middle, and we're all trying to like do what
everyone is flawed, man.
Yeah, everyone's flawed. Everyone's trying to do what's right, I think. You still have like the straight up like, oh man, that dude is like really like a terrible person, and there's occasionally the one or two like actually like really good people out there that are trying to make a difference. But that's more rare. I think everyone's kind of like more tossed together in the middle.
Yeah, 'cause there was that girl Sherry who after the whole thing with like the car accident and whatever, she tried to make things right with like that elderly couple or whatever.
Right, exactly.
What did you guys think about that? I wanted to bring that up. That was like, for me, that was one of the most, I guess, thought-provoking scenes, because that could be realistic. I imagine myself, if I was driving questionably under the influence and I knocked over a stop sign, I really think to myself, what would I do? I do not want to get a DUI. What should I do? Should I do the right thing and call and get in trouble and get a possible DUI, but save someone's life? Or do I just look out for myself and be scared and run away?
But are you asking that question in the mindset of you now or as a teenager?
Both. I mean, even like as a teenager, for sure. I mean, I think as a teenager, for sure, most I want to assume would just panic and get out of there, because you don't want to get in trouble. But I mean, you don't think about the consequences, and that's how that Jeff dude died. And he was a likable character. And he died. So, I mean, Hannah did the right thing by calling. She actually had that conscience to call. Unfortunately, it was too late. And when I saw that scene where her name was Sherry, right?
Yeah.
She felt guilty, so she went and tried to help the people. Honestly, it's like, I don't even do that. It's like, I wouldn't even be able to face the people that I potentially caused to get into an accident. I wouldn't be able to face that. Eventually, she did confess, which was cool, but they think she's such an angel. That's what she said, right? A little angel, because she's helping them out. But it's like you're like deceiving them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're not
giving them the truth.
The whole truth.
Yeah, not the whole truth. She's trying to compensate. She's trying to clean her hands in a different way.
Trying to ease her burden of guilt.
Yeah.
But I think it did portray like a lot of these kids, pretty well in that. Most people are gonna act very selfishly, like and look out for their own interests, and they. Especially being that age, like I don't want to ruin my whole life, so that they kind of do things without thinking of the consequences, and then they also, but they know like this is a bad thing to do, but they try to cover it up and like protect themselves. Like the whole like with like Bryce, like what's my number one rule?
Yep,
keep me clean. But that's very like that's kind of that. People are thinking like, scholarships and school and, having something
not going
negative
to jail.
Not, going to jail or getting, drunk or having something show up, like that shows up bad against them, that reflects negatively and it takes away like the potential to go to college or whatever. So I felt that was pretty realistic, especially in, case like Bryce and Marcus. It was all about their reputation.
Right. Yeah, because, Marcus was like this, do-gooder, like student body president.
Exactly.
He was gonna be a senator someday.
Yeah.
And then like Bryce was just he's just gonna be some rich douche. I mean, at least that's the idea that like how the show presented it. Like, Bryce shouldn't really have anything to worry about because he's probably gonna like take over his daddy's business or whatever, and he's gonna be some rich douche.
Yeah.
I agree. That was definitely realistic. I remember high school, going to college, a good college was everything. And, and there was so much pressure, and that's why it came down to it, like, I've cheated, people cheated all the time. And a lot of the quote-unquote model students, did a lot of corrupt things, I knew a lot of really smart people, over 4.0 GPA, nerds, but, they would do drugs and all sorts of, illegal activity and stuff like that. So I thought that was well portrayed, like Courtney also, she was like this really smart student, but she totally just threw Hannah under the bus, as you were saying. Yeah.
To protect her own image,
Yeah.
or like what she thought there was really nothing that she needed to protect, but in her mind, she thought she had to protect something.
It's just all about yourself, you know what I mean? And especially in high school, but even as adults, we're flawed like that too, because we're human, right?
Right, yeah. So, like I said, in presenting the human condition, I think it did a pretty good job of that. What was the other thing I wanted to say? The two like main characters overall, like I liked Clay. I liked I felt like it was nice that he's kind of like this socially awkward kind of guy where it's but he seems to actually like genuinely, while he's flawed, he does genuinely care about
he seems
like
the most well-adjusted.
Yeah.
Despite like his social awkwardness or whatever.
Right. He was the only one that seemed to care about Hannah and like wanted to do right by her.
Yeah.
And even like I think he even cared a lot about the other characters too that like he was talking with as well. And and through that, like some of them like transformed and like became better, and they were able to you start to like the characters along with as Clay is dealing with them. So that was something I liked about the show that I thought they did really well.
I definitely like Clay also. Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. And as an actor too, I think his name is Dylan Minnette. He's a really good actor. He was also in
he was in Goosebumps.
Yeah, and he was in that one movie with Hugh Jackman, Passengers, or something like that. Is it called Passengers? Or let me see.
Wait, wasn't he in Fury with Brad Pitt?
No, I don't think that was him. That young guy, right?
Yeah, he looks like him though.
Prisoners, not Passengers. My bad. Passengers is with Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, but no, Prisoners. He did really well in that too. I like this character for sure. I thought his parents were interesting. His dad was a little too chill, in my opinion. Yeah. Gosh, that's the difference, I guess, with between Asian parents
and white parents. Oh, my parents weren't like that.
But I thought they were a little too lax with him. I don't know. He stays out late. He gets beaten up, and they're just like, oh.
Boys will be boys.
They still seem like the parents still seem like they cared about him and like
Yeah.
Even in like their kind of weird like hippy dippy like approach to it, they still care. They still cared like that. That he got suspended and he had to go and register as a drug user or whatever.
Yeah.
And that stupid thing.
The other thing I felt was portrayed really well was actually Hannah's parents and like how they were dealing with the grief that they were going through. I felt it felt realistic. It wasn't just they weren't crocodile tears. They felt like they were actually like the actors portrayed her parents really well, I thought, and what they would the devastation that they were probably going through.
So I think it was like good because like the mom was like really feeling it emotionally, and like the dad, he was feeling it as well, but he was still trying to remain strong and be like that support for his wife. And
right.
I thought that was good.
And it was tough, that whole side plot where, I mean, he owned a little pharmacy clinic, right? And they were in competition with, that.
The big conglomerate, Walmart.
Yeah, the Walmart.
So they're having trouble making the rent, and there's like that.
Plus dealing with the death of their dog.
Yeah. There was one other point that I wanted to say that I thought was really good. Well, I think just the overall I liked the flow of it. It kept building up and building up, and it was one of those things that it was addicting enough where it's like I want to see what happens. What's on the next tape? What is the next what's the next thing that happens? And you look at one to start off the first tape. It's not that it's nothing, but it's really not that big of a deal. But it's what I felt like they did a good job of is it wasn't just like big things right away, because that's a little unrealistic. But it's
Right.
like a lot of little things over time that kept building up and building up. And this is, over the course of probably a year and a half or so, like that these like events were happening in Hannah's life. And it's like, like one little thing, you're like, oh, okay, you can kind of get over it, and maybe some time passes, and then, but then something else happens, and it just...
It was a downward spiral.
It's
Yeah.
definitely the death by 1,000 cuts.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and but I felt, and I think that's pretty true to life too, because it's not usually just like, stuff doesn't just like happen out of nowhere, like a lot of big, there's not like a whole lot of, I mean, it does happen, there's, terrible disasters, but a lot of disasters start off with something like really small, and it just kind of it keeps spiraling, and then people just kind of lose it, and they lose control, and especially at that age when it's like, oh, shit happens, but they don't know how to deal with that, and they don't know who they can talk to, and even when they're confronted with someone that they can talk to, they don't say anything, and so they just feel like there's nothing left to live for. And that's kind of, I felt that her committing suicide, it wasn't kind of an unrealistic thing. Right. I think that it was
especially the rape scene, her getting raped. That's what did it. If everything leading up to that, I still think she probably would have been okay. But that rape scene, that was hard to watch. That was brutal. Yeah.
I would, to be honest, there was a few things that they showed on there that was like, oh crap! Like they're showing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the one with not just like her scene, but like the one with like she watched her friend like essentially get raped and stuff. That was a little hard to watch too. Yeah, Jessica. And that's when I feel like, oh, maybe that's why she's kind of a not so nice person. She's dealing with like some of her own stuff on her own too, and. Yeah, it's just a lot of, it started off as something small, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And at that age, it's devastating enough for like one, someone who's very like well adjusted and old, that it's like that's still kind of tough to deal with. But when it's like you're that young, it's like, man, it would feel like there's no hope.
Yeah, especially because you have to see those same people every day, and the big thing also is the whole social media thing. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Because everything's
because
exposed.
like in the first episode where like the photo of Hannah got out. It was it was texted like half the school.
That's crazy.
So.
Yeah, because like that didn't happen in our day. Like we didn't have
that.
But now we have all of this.
I worked at a school before I became a therapist. It was like this private special needs school, and that's back in 2008, 2009, and Facebook obviously was popular, and this kid got supposedly kicked out of school because he posted some bad rumors about the students there, and so it is for sure a real thing, and it could ruin lives. Exposure, social media. It reminds me of the movie that I told you, Disconnect. If you guys haven't seen Disconnect, check that out. It was a really good movie, kind of same type of scenario, with a kid in school and a picture being exposed to Facebook, and it was just really sad, really hard to watch, but I could totally see that being something real, and it probably is real. Stuff like that probably happens in real life in schools.
That
cyberbullying.
It actually kind of happened to me when I was in school. I was living in the dorms, and there was this group of kids who decided to have a lingerie party or lingerie theme party.
In high school?
No, when I was in art school. And so, and the dorms, they're obviously recognizable. So because all of, like the dorms had like the same table, like mostly the same table, same couch, and like same kind of layout. So what they they snap their pictures or whatever, and what do? They post them to Facebook. And so the RAs found it, so then they had to report it to the head of like the housing department, and then they had to do like this investigation. And I only know this because like one of my roommates was at that party, and so like he had to get talked to. But I think they were dumb too because they didn't get their story straight.
Oh boy, yeah.
And so like my roommate almost got kicked out, and so.
It is what it is, man. It's exposure, social media.
Kids,
Dangerous.
not everything needs to be shared.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Well,
all.
there
But it
was
will,
I think it was Derek Jeter, who's shortstop for the Yankees, like because he was really popular,
Right.
Kind of a he stayed essentially a bachelor like during his career, but his parties were he would collect everyone's like phones, like cameras. There was none of that allowed in his house.
Smart.
And it's like because he wanted to not only like he wanted to protect like not it wasn't just his reputation but the Yankees' reputation, and he wanted to we all know like he had a lot of like his list of like girls that he dated.
Not just on his bedpost.
Exactly. But he was kind of this like his reputation was clean. He kept the Yankees clean. He was never a problem for anybody.
Right. Yeah.
And it's kind of which is smart, to be honest. And that's so. Any like final thoughts about the show that you want to share?
Yeah, going back to the pros, I liked Tony's character.
Yeah,
it
overall,
was
I liked
good.
his character. I thought
Overall,
he was a good character.
A good friend. So going back to that character development with Jessica, I mentioned in the beginning, I hated that. I hated her in the beginning. She was just annoying. She's just the type of girl that I would never associate myself with. But as her character developed, and especially after what she went through, with that whole rape thing with Bryce, in her drinking phase and everything, I definitely I felt more sorry for her. I had some compassion, and I realized that she's just this high school kid also. So definitely I felt like they did a really good job. She did a really good job with the character development, Jessica's character. Same thing with Alex. I remember I was talking to you guys when I first saw Alex. I'm like, who's this fool, But then he came around, and I think again.
I think he was the only other character besides Clay that actually
That
like
cared,
he
right.
as he developed, like he really cared about like what he felt like that guilt of
he
causing
understood
Hannah's
like
death.
his actions like had these consequences, and he
And-
internalized it, and he was trying to make right with what he did.
What I also noted too is like with him is he was wanting to like talk about it and like get it out there and like have
everyone was
and
like,
to have
shut
like
up,
some
shut
sort
up,
of
shut up.
consequences.
Yeah.
But then no one would allow that those consequences to like take
they're
place.
covering up for themselves.
Yeah, like his dad, as a cop, is kind of covering up for him. Protecting him, like the that kangaroo court council that they have at school.
Cringeworthy, right?
That he didn't get any repercussions for his fight, and which was a product of him trying to get out that frustration he had inside, and not being able to talk with anybody. The other thing we didn't talk about either was the counselor.
Dude, I was just gonna bring that up. So that was actually very important. I had a discussion with Andy about this. So Mr. Porter. So at the end, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that he would be, the last person on that tape.
Yeah.
So at that last scene, and again, I'm thinking it because I used to work at a school. Andy did too. I'm just thinking when Hannah came, this was her last attempt to get help before she decided to commit suicide. So she did the right thing.
Yeah, after she got it all out on those tapes, she started to feel a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
And then so she was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna try and give life another chance.
Yeah.
And then so she goes.
She
to
did the right thing.
Yeah. So she goes to the counselor.
What did you think about that scene? So for me, I'll go first, and then you guys go. So I felt that Hannah, that seemed like something that an actual 17-year-old girl, how she would approach it. Obviously she was gonna spill the beans fully, so to speak, because of maybe all the shame and everything. But she got the message across that she got taken advantage of. Pretty much, she got the message across. I felt that she got raped, and Mr. Porter was just like, "Do you feel that? Did you say no? Did you feel that you let him?" And then he goes on saying, "Well, he's a senior. He'll be gone. So why don't you maybe you should just move on, And that pissed me off, because it's like I really feel any sign, if a student comes up to you as a counselor, if they give any type of notion that they got raped or they're considering harming themselves, which she stated also. I felt like she did express that she had some type of suicidal ideation. Immediately, you have to take action. You have to take action. You can't just let it go. And he just let it go. I think he was just kind of being lazy, or he just didn't want to deal with it. So
derelict in his duties.
Yeah, so that pissed me off. 100%. I felt like he was in the wrong. 100%.
So your takeaway is a little different than mine then, because maybe I need to rewatch it, because the way I saw that scene is more that, because I actually think that I felt bad for him, because I think he really does care, like him and like the other like Asian teacher, like I think they actually really do care. It's like because at that point now 2 students have died recently within like a year.
That's right.
Within a year. Which has got to be pretty devastating, because especially they're pretty fairly popular kids in the school, and a lot of people are affected by it. And I think that the way that Hannah approached it, like, was very kind of typical, like the way a teenager would approach that, because she doesn't really know Mr. Porter all that well, so it's not like you're just gonna spill everything right off the bat. And I think in his position too is like sometimes like she's saying something but she's not saying something at the same time.
Right.
And so there's nothing that he can really take as you can't just go around accusing people either. There's other steps involved, like where well now I have to talk to Bryce and like all a lot of these people involved, and when she's not fully saying that yes this happened, I don't feel like there's anything that he as a person, maybe he definitely should have gone like the next step.
Extra step.
Yeah, but it's like when you're kind of stuck in that administration, there's certain things that like you have to wait for someone to say like before you take steps, because it goes to the line. If she's just making stuff up, which obviously we know she wasn't, but if she is, you can't just go around like accusing and then like ruining someone's reputation that didn't deserve it.
The thing is, I don't know the exact protocol, but I feel no matter what though, I think she told enough that for a counselor to take action. That's how I feel.
And that I agree with. Like if this was just like an adult in a normal situation, I think Mr. Porter would have gone that extra step.
Really?
Because I think I really do think that he was one of the few adults that actually gave a damn about like Hannah and these kids.
But it's his duty as a counselor to make that extra step, no?
But that's the thing, like they're when it comes to like a public school like that, there's becoming more and more of like a separation, like where they can't quite necessarily take steps without certain things being said,
it's much more like bureaucratic.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If it was just like another like adult that somehow like knew them, like if it was like, let's say he was a parent of like another kid that they knew very well or something like that, you'd probably go take that next step, because she's saying enough.
Or something.
Yeah, because she's saying enough. But then you have like that lawsuit that's pending too, and it's one of those things where he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because if he goes this direction, well, that probably like damages the school and like a lot of other things that take place, and so he's kind of, I feel bad for him, because he's like wanting to do the right thing, but he can't do the right thing at the same time.
I don't know. I guess I guess it comes down to like the do's and don'ts, the protocols of being in that administrative position. But I don't know. I felt he should have taken action. That was me. 100%. I felt he should have taken action.
Yeah, and like I said, as just like a person in general, like from the outside, absolutely, I would agree with you on that. But just the nuances of like what's going on with, because I do feel like he cared. It's just like you're being tugged in a bunch of different directions, and it's kind of like no, all the decisions are not, the consequences aren't good, but. Yeah, probably Hannah may have survived had he done something more.
Yeah.
Well, my take is that, well, Hannah was like, I think I'm a little bit more inclined in the same direction as Robert, because she was telling him stuff, but not really. She was showing him the smoke, but then not the fire.
But as a kid,
I mean, I know, I get like, you don't know who to trust, and You don't know, like, you know, what kind of repercussions you might have, but, like, you know, if kids, you know, at that age do see everything as black or white, you know, obviously, like, what, you know, Bryce did, that was, you know, wrong. Utterly, completely, totally. So, you know, there shouldn't be a problem to go and say, yes, this guy raped me.
But for her, she felt so ashamed. She was this, like, 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl. And I felt like, again, I guess it's...
And this is where, like, this is where I really liked it, because I felt like that whole scenario is very realistic of, like, what would have actually happened. Because, you know, she's saying something without actually saying something and trying to get help. And Mr. Porter is wanting to give help, but can't quite give the help that she needs either.
I guess the difference is that I feel like as a counselor, he should have been able to read between the lines and take the extra step.
And we don't know if, like, how new he is either, because, you know, he kind of they didn't really talk too much about his background either, like, and because he just all of a sudden
no matter what though, even if you're new, like, that's your job. That's just how I feel. I felt. Well, I guess the difference between my opinion and your guys is that I felt he should have read between the lines and take that extra step of caution to investigate it more.
Well, I guess in that case, you know, in that kind of scenario, then I would agree with you because, damn, I lost my train of thought. What you had said.
I think he should have, as a counselor, read between the lines and realized what she was really trying to convey. And even though I felt like she said enough, given the fact that she's scared and that she's shamed.
Right.
Okay, well, in that case, I would tend to agree with you, but it's also, like, if what Robert was saying, you know, if he is new, then, like, he hasn't had enough time with them to build, like, that trust. Even if he's been there for, say, like, a year, that doesn't necessarily mean, like, you know, all the students have meetings with him, like, on a regular basis.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, you know, she might, this might be the first time that she's actually coming to him, and she, you know, again, feeling cautious, you know, may want to try and, like, and see if he'll act with little information, which I kind of got annoyed with, because I was like, man, why is she testing him? It feels a little unfair that she's, like, testing him, like, especially with, like, such, like, a huge, like, stake, you know, her life.
Yeah, I don't know if she was trying to test him though. I think she.
That's kind of like how it seemed like a little bit, where
because, like, at the end, like, when after the meeting, you know, she was hoping that he would come out and, like, you know, come and stop her, and, like, all right, let's go talk. Tell me everything. We're gonna make this happen. But she was, like, outside his office, like, waiting for him to come, and it's like she's like recording the whole situation. It's like, oh, he's in his office. He's on the phone. He's not coming. It's like, he's not gonna come. And then she like walks out. And I thought that was like.
You thought that was a bit unfair.
Yeah, that was very unfair and, like, kind of flippant, because, like, this is your life, and you're putting it on the hope that, you know, that you're telling this guy something but not really, and hoping. And, like, you know, she was like, she didn't want to die. She was, like, hoping that he would come. But, like,
in the end, yeah, it was her decision to actually let herself agree. And I agree with you. I felt like he was genuine. He really did care. It kind of showed a little bit of his personal life when he was at home with his son and wife and everything.
But even, like, when he was talking with, like, that other teacher who was, you know, also very, you know, devastated by the whole, like, you know, Hannah's death and all that. You know, he when he was talking with her, that exchange, it felt very genuine too. Like, they both really cared about the students. It's just like, you know, there's only so much that they can really do,
and that they know.
And that's the other thing. And, you know, who knows? Had Mr. Porter not been there, had it been the other counselor who seemed a little bit more proactive and, like, you know, interacting with students. Yeah. No, remember the first lady, like, when they were talking about was it Jessica and Hannah, like, they
that she was a little Miss Sunshine.
She was a little crazy, but, like, she seemed a little
she was very,
more
like,
proactive.
hippy dippy.
Yeah, but
that was annoying too.
But anyway, you know, had she been there, maybe something would have changed things. And so we don't know, like, how, like, new Mr. Porter was exactly, and so it's like, you know, for all we know, he could have been in office like for 5 days, and it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, exactly.
And he hasn't had a chance to like build rapport with any of the students. So that's why I kind of like, because we're left with a lot of assumptions of like Mr. Porter's character, and so I felt a little bit bad for him, to be honest, because he's really like caught up in a whole like situation. Because we don't even know if he was there like when Jeff died. We don't know if he had been there that long. At least I don't remember them talking about his timeline of being in the school. So he might be coming into the situation like much later on.
I think this like all happens with like in the span of a year, because when they started off they were sophomores.
Right.
Then like they had that summer break, and then
Then it was
about a year and a half.
Yeah, like a year and a half.
But yeah, I felt bad for his character, but at the same, there was a lot of things. It's like Hannah maybe could have said just a little bit more, and Mr. Porter probably could have done a lot more too. I
mean, I'm not saying he's responsible for.
No.
And I think the other thing too is like he after getting the tapes, which because obviously if he'd been like Clay wasn't the last one to get the tapes, it was Mr. Porter. And obviously, if Clay was the last one to hear the tape, he probably would have never gotten the tapes. And Mr. Porter would have like, this is what's going on,
exactly.
But
then Tony would have stepped in probably, because he probably had an extra set of tapes, right?
Well, he did have the extra set of tapes.
Exactly, and so it was. I think that was a whole like learning experience for Mr. Porter as well, and maybe he probably does end up losing his job, as well as maybe some of the other like administrators of the school.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
But it's like it might be one of those things where it's like he'll never forget. Like Hannah, and like it'll help him in the future. Moving forward.
It'll for sure haunt him in like every decision that he makes after like.
And maybe he would be like more quick to act. Like in those like in between the lines kind of.
Yeah. But again, I mean, I agree it's not solely his fault, but I just felt he should have stepped up more.
Right. But like you said, that was a great part of the show. That whole that whole like last episode for that part was very realistic in how that would have taken place. Because Hannah's not gonna just open up and say everything. And she couldn't. The only person that she was able to like say everything to was those tapes. And Mr. Porter, like he's kind of coming into it, fairly blind. I think he had known there's like something going on that he doesn't, and he doesn't. But he can't just go around like making like accusations.
And that's the thing, as a teacher, you only know so much, and there's boundaries. Like we're not in charge of their lives.
Exactly.
And there's too many of them, so I understand that for sure. I've been there. But yeah, overall, really sad. Felt really bad for Hannah's parents.
Yeah.
But going back at the end of it all, I think I have reason to believe that there will be another season, especially with Tyler. I think he's planning on killing those.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, see, like in like the last, like towards like the end, you see this the Tyler kid. He's in the dark room and he has like these pictures, which is basically his shit list.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and then he remembers that the Alex kid like stood up for him one time, so he takes him down. So clearly he, but then down the line you see that the Clay kid is on it. So
it's kind of I don't know what to like really make of.
I think it's like a Columbine scenario, Sadly, and that's happened a lot. Because he was like, everyone hated him. He was the creepy dude that took pictures, everyone hated him.
He clearly had like some issues, like, because once you start like being that voyeur and like you're using outside people's like houses and taking
he's
pictures.
Doing like stalker. He had like stalker tendencies.
Right. That's a little.
And he, like that thing that he said, like, I'm always around. I'm everywhere.
Yeah, he's kind of like separating himself from others and like doing a lot of weird things. And the other thing that makes me wonder too is. Because the way, like Tyler's tape, also like, it's like be quiet, like we're gonna sneak outside his window, and it's almost like she's hurt, so she wants to hurt the people that hurt her back.
Of course.
And she did like kind of, so had she lived, she probably would have had Mr. Porter like kind of confronted all this, and maybe like these tapes never get out and nothing happens.
Yeah.
But I think when she made that decision, like I'm gonna take my life, and because there's what else do I have to live for? But I'm also gonna hurt the people that hurt me, which obviously like the people that it most affected was Tyler and Alex, because Alex, his guilt and just pressure built up him as this series went on, and he ended up shooting himself. And then Tyler is kind of going the opposite direction, where he's like, I'm going to take these people out.
Yeah, he doesn't. Well, like in that. Yeah, he doesn't take any of the responsibility or what he did onto himself, but he's still like in like that victim mindset where he's like, I'm the victim. And,
that's one of the
all these guys are being dicks to me, and so I'm gonna take my anger out.
Yeah, it's a crazy cycle too, because
tragedy breeds tragedy.
Exactly, and it's that cycle of like just it's these little things that keep building up, and you can either just it's one of those things, you can turn the other cheek, you can kind of like let's stop it here, like we're all wrong, we're all messed up, and just like let's end it right here, and but then there's other people that can't deal with that, and it's just like, you hurt me, so I'm gonna punch you twice. It's kind of, and it's this escalating confrontation, and and that's pretty realistic too. I
agree.
And
I agree.
If there is a second season, it's probably Tyler's gonna be the main focus, and which is kind of.
I'm definitely interested to watch it. If there's a second season, that'd be cool.
Any final thoughts from you guys before we close out?
Not really. I mean, yes, I admitted that I hate watch the show.
Yeah, you did.
Hate watch the show.
I hate watch the show, but I will admit like towards the end, it did start getting more compelling, and the story was getting more interesting. Yeah. But it definitely felt like this show was made like with like a check mark, with a checklist. Like, oh, gay character, check.
It was diverse.
I know, minority, magical minority, check. Person struggling with their sexual identity, check.
Yeah, it definitely did have that smell to it. Mm-hmm. I will agree. Overall, 13 Reasons Why. It has some flaws, but overall, really good show.
Very thought-provoking. One of the major themes was people are jacked up, especially kids. Kids are brutal, and social media is dangerous. But I feel like, we're all responsible for everyone's well-being. That's what I feel. We're all responsible.
So 13 Reasons Why. It's on Netflix. It has some flaws, but overall, very thought-provoking series. We all, we had different reasons for maybe not liking it. We all had, different reasons for liking it. Definitely shows a lot of the human condition, and I think in a lot of ways portrays the realisticness of people being not so great, and
especially teens. Right?
Especially teens, like school's a tough place to be at, and
y'all need Jesus.
Yeah, I think in a lot of sense, people like me, I was like bullied growing up because being small, whatever. But I had like a good solid foundation at home, and like I had good friends, so a lot of that stuff I was just like I was able to brush off. But I know there's probably some of you guys out there who maybe you're whatever age you are, maybe you're dealing with something where it's hard to deal with, you don't really have a good support network. But I encourage you to find someone to talk to, whether it be like a pastor or a trusted friend or a counselor or something. Don't think that life isn't hopeless. There's stuff there's a lot to live for, and I encourage you to talk to someone or get help if you need help. So anyways, we will see you next time. This is the episode of Circle of Jerks podcast, and we'll have some links around for you to click on and check things out, and make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Be nice to everyone. That's the major message I got out of it.
Yeah.
Be nice to everyone.
What time is it?
5:23.